It looks fake. A bird steps into the sunlight, and suddenly the forest explodes with color. Emerald, copper, electric blue, like someone just cranked saturation past 200%. No filters, no CGI. This is real. High in the cold Himalayan mountains, the Himalayan monal moves slowly across a mossy slope, each step catching the light differently, like a living prism wrapped in feathers. And here's the wild part. This isn't a tropical rainforest showpiece. This is a bird that thrives in snow, thin air, and brutal winters. So today we're asking a dangerous question. What happens when nature becomes too beautiful to believe? Because the monal is just the beginning. Across the planet, there are birds so perfectly colored, so impossibly designed, they look like they were generated by an AI trained on fantasy art. But every feather has a purpose, every color a cost. In this journey, we'll uncover why evolution sometimes paints with excess, how light, motion, and survival collide to create creatures that seem unreal, and why standing out in the wild can be just as deadly as it is dazzling. So as the monal lifts its head, sunlight rippling across its metallic crown, ask yourself this: if beauty makes you visible, why would nature risk creating something like this? And what other birds are hiding in plain sight, waiting to shatter what you think is real? A bird that looks like it was dipped in molten metal somehow survives where oxygen runs thin and winters try to kill everything that moves. That's the Himalayan monal, Nepal's national bird, and one of the most visually extreme birds ever produced by evolution. This pheasant lives high in the Himalayas, usually between 2,700 and 4,500 meters, in cold alpine forests, rhododendron slopes, and open mountain meadows. These are not gentle environments. Snow can fall suddenly, food is seasonal, and predators are always watching. So the first question that hits you is obvious. Why would a bird shine like a disco ball in a place where blending in could mean survival? Up close, the male monal is unreal. Its plumage shifts between emerald green, copper red, cobalt blue, and violet depending on the angle of light. This isn't pigment alone. It's structural coloration, microscopic feather layers bending light like a prism. The female, by contrast, wears mottled browns and grays, perfectly camouflaged for nesting on the ground. Flashy male, stealthy female, classic high-risk, high-reward strategy. Smart or reckless? That's your first debate. Monals feed mostly on roots, tubers, insects, larvae, and seeds. They use their strong, curved beaks to dig into soil, often flipping rocks and leaf litter like tiny mountain bulldozers. During winter, when food is scarce, they move lower in elevation, forming loose groups to forage more efficiently. Their call isn't musical. It's a sharp, whistling series of notes that carries well through thin mountain air, especially during breeding season. Spring is when the male's colors matter most. He displays by strutting, puffing his chest, and angling his body to catch maximum sunlight, turning himself into a living signal flare. But here's the twist. Those same colors that attract mates also attract predators like foxes, martens, and large raptors. Evolution didn't give him beauty for free, it charged interest. So is the Himalayan monal a masterpiece of survival, or a gamble that just happens to work? If standing out can get you killed, why does nature keep doubling down on color? And if this bird already looks unreal in frozen mountain light, wait until you see what happens when evolution pushes beauty even further in the next species. A bird with tail feathers longer than its own body chooses to live hidden in dark, dripping cloud forests. That's the resplendent quetzal, a species so visually extravagant it feels almost contradictory to its lifestyle. The quetzal lives in the montane cloud forests of Central America, especially in southern Mexico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Panama. These forests sit at mid to high elevations, wrapped in constant mist, where light filters through leaves in soft, broken beams. It's cool, wet, and dense. Not exactly the place you'd expect to find a bird glowing emerald green. Its plumage is built for that light. The male's feathers shimmer green, not from pigment, but from microscopic structures that reflect light, shifting from emerald to turquoise as it moves. The chest burns crimson red, and during breeding season, two elongated tail coverts stream behind him like ribbons, sometimes reaching over a meter long. The female is shorter-tailed and duller, but still unmistakably elegant. Again, flash versus function. Necessary or dangerously unnecessary. The quetzal's diet is surprisingly specific. It feeds mainly on wild avocados and other fruit, swallowing them whole and regurgitating the seeds later. In fact, many cloud forest trees depend on quetzals for seed dispersal. Without them, parts of the forest simply wouldn't regenerate. Add insects, small frogs, and lizards to the menu, and you've got a bird quietly holding the ecosystem together. Not bad for something that looks like fantasy art. Its call is soft and hollow, a low kyow or whup that echoes through foggy valleys. You often hear it before you ever see it, and breeding is just as discreet. Quetzals nest in rotting tree cavities, often excavated from old woodpecker holes, laying eggs deep inside darkness, despite their glowing appearance outside. Predators are real. Hawks, owls, and arboreal mammals all pose threats. And here's the twist. Quetzals don't do well in captivity. They stress easily, refuse to feed, and often die. Freedom isn't optional for this bird. It's biological. So here's the question. Is the resplendent quetzal beautiful because it's rare, or rare because beauty made survival harder? And if this is what evolution creates in mist and shadow, what happens when it turns color into pure spectacle in open light? A bird with neon blue skin, a crimson back, a yellow neck collar, and jet black wings lives on a tiny tropical island where nothing flashy survives for long. That's Wilson's bird of paradise, one of the most visually precise animals evolution has ever assembled. This species is found only on a few small islands off western Papua, Indonesia. Lowland rainforest is its entire world, hot, humid, crowded with predators, and thick enough that sunlight barely reaches the forest floor, which immediately raises a question. Why would a bird evolve colors this loud in a place designed for hiding? The male is where things get extreme. His head is bald but not plain. The skin is a bright turquoise blue, crossed by a black double stripe that looks almost painted on. That color isn't feather pigment. It's structural skin coloration, produced by microscopic tissue layers that reflect light. His back is deep red, his wings velvet black, and his tail ends in two curled wires tipped with green discs. The female, meanwhile, is brown and camouflaged, built for survival, not spectacle. Beauty here is a one-sided risk. Worth it or not? Wilson's bird of paradise feeds mostly on fruit, especially figs, along with insects and small arthropods. It forages alone, moving quietly through the mid-canopy. Its voice is surprisingly sharp, short clicking notes and buzzing calls used to announce presence in dense forest where visibility is limited. Breeding season is where reality bends. The male clears a small patch of forest floor, removing every leaf and twig until the ground is bare. Then he performs. He hops, pivots, flashes his chest shield, raises his tail wires, and precisely angles his body toward the female. This is not random dancing. Studies show females reject males whose display timing or symmetry is even slightly off. Precision matters. Almost mechanical. That's your debate. Is this art or ruthless biological quality control? Predators include snakes, raptors, and tree-climbing mammals. And here's the twist. All that color disappears in low light. In shade, the male turns nearly black. The neon only activates when sunlight hits at the right angle. Flash on, flash off. A living switch. So is Wilson's bird of paradise reckless, or one of evolution's most calculated designers? And if this bird already looks engineered rather than born, wait until you see what happens when courtship turns into full visual illusion in the next species. A small black bird walks onto the forest floor and suddenly turns itself into a floating, smiley face. No feathers missing, no digital trickery, just biology doing something that honestly feels illegal. This is the superb bird of paradise, and yes, the name is earned. It lives in the montane rainforests of New Guinea, usually at mid to high elevations, where moss coats everything and light barely reaches the ground. The environment is dark, cluttered, and unforgiving. Visibility is terrible, which makes the male's courtship display even more confusing and fascinating. Most of the year, the male looks almost boring. Velvety black feathers, compact body, easy to overlook. Then breeding season hits. He clears a small display court on the forest floor, removing every leaf and twig. When a female arrives, the transformation begins. He raises specialized feathers from his chest and head, forming a near-perfect oval disc. Two bright blue patches above his eyes flare into view, creating the illusion of a glowing face. Not metaphorically, visually. Scientists have measured the feathers and found they absorb almost all light, making the blue appear unnaturally bright by contrast. This isn't color, it's optical engineering. Here's the mini twist. That famous smiley face doesn't exist until the display is complete. At the wrong angle, or with poor timing, the illusion collapses. Females are ruthless about it. If the dance is off, if the symmetry fails, if the rhythm breaks, she leaves. Debate time. Is this mating or a live performance audition with zero tolerance for mistakes? The superb bird of paradise feeds mainly on fruit, insects, and small arthropods, foraging quietly in the understory. Its vocalizations are sharp clicks and raspy calls, used mostly to advertise territory and readiness during breeding season. Outside of courtship, it's a solitary bird, rarely interacting with others. Predators include snakes, birds of prey, and arboreal mammals, which makes the display even riskier. During courtship, the male is exposed, distracted, and highly visible. Evolution didn't remove the danger, it doubled down on precision instead. So here's the uncomfortable question. If survival favors efficiency, why does nature tolerate something this extravagant, this fragile, and this specific? And if a bird can turn darkness itself into part of its display, what happens when color stops being subtle altogether in the next species? A bird the size of a house cat screaming across the rainforest canopy in pure red, yellow, and blue somehow survives in a world where being seen usually gets you eaten. That's the scarlet macaw, one of the loudest, brightest contradictions in the natural world. Scarlet macaws live in lowland tropical rainforests from southern Mexico through Central America and deep into the Amazon basin. These are dense, competitive ecosystems packed with predators, parasites, and rivals. Yet instead of blending in, the macaw goes full signal flare. Its plumage is dominated by scarlet red with bold yellow bands and electric blue flight feathers. High contrast blocks that look more like toy colors than camouflage. The question writes itself. Why advertise your location this aggressively? Part of the answer is social. Macaws are rarely alone. They live in pairs or small flocks and rely heavily on constant vocal communication. Their calls are loud, harsh squawks that can travel several kilometers through forest. Pleasant? No. Effective? Extremely. Those screams help mates stay connected while flying at high speed through thick canopy. If you can't hear your partner, you lose them. Diet explains the rest. Scarlet macaws feed mainly on hard seeds, nuts, fruits, and clay-rich soil from riverbanks. That clay isn't random. It helps neutralize toxins found in many unripe fruits they eat. Few animals can process that chemical load. Fewer still have beaks powerful enough to crack palm nuts like concrete. That oversized curved bill isn't decoration, it's industrial equipment. Here's a mini twist most people miss. Those bright colors may actually help macaws recognize each other instantly in chaotic jungle light. When everything is green, red stands out. Debate time. Are macaws visible because they're reckless, or because they're so well-armed, chemically and socially, that hiding isn't necessary anymore? Breeding pairs bond for life. They nest high in tree cavities, laying 1 to 3 eggs. Both parents raise the chicks, and young macaws stay dependent for months, learning what to eat and what not to touch. A critical lesson in a toxic forest. Predators include large raptors, monkeys, and snakes, especially for chicks. Adults rely on height, flight power, and group vigilance rather than stealth. So here's the challenge. If being bright makes you obvious, but being obvious makes you successful, is camouflage always the best strategy? And if this is what raw color looks like when survival allows it, wait until evolution turns the saturation dial even higher in the next species. A bird small enough to fit in your hand somehow carries 3 completely different colors on one body. Blue head, red belly, green back. Like it couldn't decide and chose all of them. That's the painted bunting, often called the most colorful songbird in North America, and also one of the most misunderstood. Painted buntings breed in the southern United States, especially along the southeast and parts of the Midwest, then migrate to Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean for winter. They favor open woodland edges, scrub, hedgerows, and brushy fields, places with thick cover, not wide open space, which immediately raises a question. Why would a bird this bright choose environments built for hiding? The answer starts with the feathers. Adult males wear intense red, blue, and green produced by both pigments and feather structure. Females and young birds, however, are plain green, almost invisible in foliage. That difference isn't aesthetic, it's survival math. Females spend more time nesting and feeding chicks, where camouflage matters more than showing off. Males take the visibility risk, but only during breeding season. Smart trade-off or unnecessary danger. Painted buntings feed mostly on seeds and insects. During breeding season, protein-heavy insects dominate the diet, especially caterpillars and beetles needed for chick growth. Outside that season, seeds take over. They forage low, hopping through dense cover, rarely lingering in the open. If you see one clearly, it usually means it messed up. Their song is fast, high-pitched, and slightly jumbled, a series of short phrases that sound rushed, almost nervous. Males sing to defend territory and attract mates, often from hidden perches. And here's a mini twist. Painted buntings are aggressively territorial. Males will fight other males over breeding space, sometimes so intensely that it leads to injury or death. Debate time. Is extreme beauty worth it if it pushes competition this far? Predators include hawks, snakes, and domestic cats, especially during migration and nesting. Human threats matter too. For years, these birds were trapped illegally for the pet trade because of their color. Ironically, the very thing that makes them beautiful made them vulnerable. So if being colorful increases risk, why hasn't evolution toned them down? Maybe because in the end, reproduction beats caution. And if this is what color looks like in a bird that still tries to hide, wait until we leave North America behind and meet a species that puts every shade on full display in open African light. A bird launches from a dead tree, flips backward in midair, flashes turquoise, lilac, green, and electric blue, then lands like nothing happened. That's the lilac-breasted roller, one of Africa's most visually overloaded birds, and somehow one of its most effective hunters. This species lives across eastern and southern Africa, favoring open savannas, woodland edges, and grasslands dotted with acacia trees. These are bright, exposed landscapes with very little cover. Hiding isn't really an option here, which makes the roller's color scheme feel almost defiant. Lilac chest, turquoise belly, green crown, blue wings, cinnamon back. It's not camouflage, it's a billboard. But here's the practical side. Rollers are perch and pounce hunters. They sit still on high branches or poles, scanning the ground for movement. When they strike, it's fast and direct. Their diet includes large insects like grasshoppers and beetles, but also lizards, frogs, small snakes, and even rodents. That broad menu means they can survive where more specialized hunters fail. Flashy feathers, yes, but backed by adaptability. The roller's call is harsh and mechanical, a series of grating rack, rack, rack sounds often delivered in flight. During breeding season, males perform aerial displays that look almost reckless, diving, rolling, and twisting while calling loudly. That's where the name roller comes from. It's not showboating for fun. These displays signal territory ownership and physical fitness. Debate time. Is this performance confidence or unnecessary exposure to danger? Breeding pairs are monogamous during the season. They nest in tree cavities, termite mounds, or abandoned woodpecker holes, laying 2 to 4 eggs. Both parents defend the nest aggressively, even chasing off much larger birds. Chicks are fed whole prey, often stunned by repeated beak strikes before delivery. Efficient, but not gentle. Predators include large raptors, snakes, and mammals that can reach nests. Adults rely on sharp eyesight, speed, and open visibility rather than stealth. And here's a mini twist. Those bright colors may actually confuse predators in motion, breaking up the bird's outline during flight under harsh sunlight. Not hiding, but disrupting perception. So is the lilac-breasted roller reckless for being so visible, or simply optimized for a world where hiding doesn't work anyway? And if this is what survival looks like in open African light, wait until pattern, texture, and contrast reach a whole new level in the next species. A duck swims past and suddenly looks like it's wearing a carved wooden mask, silk sails on its back, and hand-painted stripes everywhere else. No exaggeration, that's the mandarin duck, one of the most visually complex waterfowl on the planet. Mandarin ducks are native to East Asia, breeding in eastern Russia, northeastern China, Korea, and Japan. They prefer wooded freshwater habitats, forested lakes, slow rivers, and ponds with overhanging trees. Unlike most ducks, they often perch in trees, nesting in cavities several meters above the water. That alone already breaks the normal duck rule. The male's plumage during breeding season is where things get almost absurd. Orange sail feathers rise from the back like decorative fins. The face is layered with white crescents, black lines, chestnut tones, and a purple-green sheen across the breast. These colors aren't random. They're produced by a mix of pigments and feather structure, creating sharp contrasts that remain visible even in dappled forest light. The female, meanwhile, is gray-brown with white eye rings, quiet, practical, and perfectly camouflaged. Same species, two completely different design philosophies. Necessary contrast or evolutionary overkill? Outside the breeding season, males molt into a much duller eclipsed plumage, temporarily losing the flashy look. That's your mini twist. The unreal duck only exists part of the year. When survival matters more than attraction, the color switch turns off. Mandarin ducks feed on seeds, acorns, aquatic plants, insects, snails, and small invertebrates. In autumn, acorns become especially important, and birds may travel considerable distances inland to find oak forests. Their calls are soft whistles and squeaks, nothing dramatic, which fits a species that relies more on visual signals than sound. Breeding begins in spring. Females lay eggs in tree cavities, and when the ducklings hatch, something incredible happens. They jump. From heights that can exceed 10 meters, the chicks leap out of the nest, bounce on the forest floor, and follow the mother to water. No flight feathers, no safety net. Debate time. Is that bravery or just physics plus luck? Predators include raccoon dogs, foxes, raptors, and large fish that take ducklings. Adults rely on agility, tree nesting, and seasonal camouflage rather than aggression. So here's the question. If a bird can switch between invisible and ornamental masterpiece on schedule, which version is the real one? And if layered patterns already look this unreal on water, wait until metallic shine takes center stage in the next species. A pigeon walks across a tropical beach, and suddenly it looks like polished metal under sunlight. Greens shift to bronze, copper slides into gold, and nothing about it says ordinary. This is the Nicobar pigeon, the closest living relative of the dodo, and easily the most visually misleading pigeon on Earth. Nicobar pigeons live across island chains of Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific, from the Andaman and Nicobar Islands through Indonesia, the Philippines, and parts of Melanesia. They favor small offshore islands, coastal forests, and mangroves, places with few ground predators and dense cover. During the day, they forage inland, and at night, they often roost together on isolated islets. That daily commute already hints at a lifestyle built around safety, not speed. Their plumage is where confusion starts. The feathers are dark but highly iridescent, reflecting metallic green, teal, and copper, depending on angle and light. This effect comes from feather microstructure, not bright pigment. The long neck hackles catch sunlight in flashes, while the head stays a deep slate gray and the tail is stark white. It looks engineered, but it serves a purpose. In broken coastal light, that shifting shine disrupts the bird's outline as it moves. Debate moment. Is this flashiness for display or for visual interference? Nicobar pigeons feed mainly on seeds, fruits, and fallen nuts, including tough coastal species many birds ignore. They forage on the ground, walking deliberately rather than hopping. Their voice is low and booming, a deep coo that carries through forest understory without drawing sharp attention. Not musical, but effective. Breeding behavior is understated. They nest in trees or dense shrubs, usually laying a single egg. Both parents share incubation and chick care. The young grow slowly, which is risky. But island environments trade predator pressure for patience. When predators arrive, though, things fall apart quickly. Introduced cats, rats, and humans have wiped out populations across parts of their range. Color didn't save them. Isolation once did. Here's the quiet twist. Despite their shine, Nicobar pigeons are shy and cautious. They flush early, fly strongly, and avoid open spaces when disturbed. The metal look doesn't mean bold behavior, it's surface only. So here's the question. If a bird can look futuristic while living such a conservative life, is beauty really about confidence or just a byproduct of structure? And if metallic feathers already blur the line between biology and illusion, wait until pure color saturation takes over in the next species. A bird barely heavier than a couple of coins somehow wears red, yellow, green, black, and purple all at once, and still manages to survive in one of Australia's harshest climates. That's the Gouldian finch, often called the most colorful finch on Earth, and one of the most scientifically studied for a reason. Gouldian finches are native to northern Australia, especially across savannas and open woodlands in the Kimberley Top End and Cape York regions. These areas swing between extreme wet seasons and long, punishing droughts. Food appears, disappears, and reappears on a schedule that doesn't care who's hungry. So right away, the obvious question, how does a bird this delicate-looking make it here? The plumage is the first distraction. Bright green back, yellow belly, purple breast, turquoise highlights, and a head that comes in 3 color morphs, black, red, or yellow. And this isn't random variation. Head color is genetically linked to behavior and hormone levels. Red-headed males tend to be more aggressive. Black-headed birds are calmer and more cooperative. Same species, different personalities. Debate time, is color just decoration or a visible personality trait written into feathers? Their diet is almost entirely grass seeds, especially native sorghum. During the dry season, when seeds harden and water disappears, Gouldian finches must drink daily. Miss a water source, and they don't last long. That's why they stay close to permanent water holes and move constantly in flocks, tracking seed availability with almost surgical timing. Their call is soft and high-pitched, a series of thin whistles that keep flock members connected without alerting predators. Loud birds get noticed. Gouldians prefer subtle coordination. Breeding begins late in the wet season, when food is most reliable. They nest in tree hollows, laying 4 to 8 eggs. Both parents feed the chicks, regurgitating partially digested seeds. Efficient, repetitive, relentless. Predators include snakes, raptors, and goannas that raid nests. But the biggest threat isn't teeth or talons, it's habitat change. Altered fire regimes and overgrazing have reduced grass seed diversity, pushing Gouldian finches into decline. Their colors didn't fail them, their timing did. Here's the twist. In captivity, Gouldian finches thrive. In the wild, they struggle. Beauty wasn't built for safety, it was built for balance. So if extreme color can coexist with extreme vulnerability, maybe looking unreal isn't an advantage at all. Maybe it's a warning. And if this is where our first chapter of Impossible Beauty ends, the next birds are about to push shape, form, and illusion even further. A bird lands on the ground looking fairly normal, then suddenly fans its head into a blazing orange crown with black tips, like it just deployed a living signal flag. That's the hoopoe, a species whose appearance can change your impression in a single second. Hoopoes are widely distributed across Europe, Asia, and much of Africa. They prefer open landscapes with short grass, farmland, savannas, and woodland edges, places where the soil is exposed and easy to probe. This bird is built for the ground. Long legs, a long curved bill, and a slow, deliberate walking style make it look more like a foraging machine than a flyer. That bill is the key. Hoopoes feed mainly on insects and their larvae, beetles, crickets, ants, caterpillars, and especially soil-dwelling prey like grubs. They push the bill deep into the ground, feel for movement, then extract prey with surprising accuracy. No digging frenzy, no chaos, just methodical probing. Their tongue is short, so they often toss food into the air and catch it to swallow properly. Clumsy looking, but effective. Their call is unmistakable, a low, hollow hoo-poo, 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 repeated slowly and evenly. It carries far across open land without sounding aggressive. That sound is used mostly during breeding season to mark territory and attract a mate. Simple, steady, and confident. Debate moment. Is subtle communication more powerful than loud display? The crest is where things get interesting. Most of the time, it stays folded and barely noticeable. But when the hoopoe is excited, alarmed, or displaying, the crest fans open dramatically. It doesn't just look impressive, it changes the bird's perceived size and outline, potentially startling predators or rivals. Flash on, flash off. A visual tool, not a constant costume. Breeding behavior comes with a twist most people don't expect. Hoopoes nest in cavities, tree holes, walls, rocks. And during nesting, the female and chicks produce a strong, foul-smelling secretion from a gland near the tail. It smells like rotting meat. This isn't an accident. That odor deters predators and parasites. Clean-looking bird, dirty defense strategy. Worth it or too much? Predators include raptors, foxes, snakes, and large mammals. Hoopoes rely on vigilance, flight bursts, and that sudden crest display rather than camouflage or aggression. So here's the question. If a bird can switch from plain to spectacular in an instant, which version do predators believe? And if visual surprise already works this well, wait until long legs and impossible posture push the illusion even further in the next species. A bird walks through the grass like it's late for a meeting, then suddenly stomps a snake to death. Not swoops, not dives, walks. That's the secretary bird, a raptor that hunts on foot and looks like it escaped from a concept artist's desk. This species lives across sub-Saharan Africa, favoring open savannas, grasslands, and lightly wooded plains. These are wide, exposed environments where hiding isn't really an option. So instead of flying low and ambushing prey, the secretary bird does something unusual for a bird of prey. It patrols. Long legs, upright posture, steady pace. An adult can walk more than 20 kilometers in a single day, scanning the ground with calm, forward-facing focus. The obvious question, why hunt like a land animal when you have wings? The answer is in the legs. Those long, crane-like limbs aren't just for show. They're powerful weapons. Secretary birds kill prey by stamping, delivering rapid, precise kicks strong enough to crush skulls or sever spinal cords. Snakes, including venomous cobras and adders, are common targets. So are rodents, lizards, frogs, insects, and small birds. Debate moment. Is this still a bird of prey or a feathered kickboxer? Its appearance only adds to the confusion. Pale gray body, black flight feathers, white thighs, and a crown of stiff black quills at the back of the head, often compared to pens tucked behind a clerk's ear, which is how the bird got its name. The face is bare and orange, with heavy lashes that give it a permanently serious, almost judgmental expression. Functional, too. Bare skin helps regulate heat during long ground hunts. Despite the terrestrial lifestyle, secretary birds still rely on flight. They soar to spot prey, escape danger, and reach nests. Breeding pairs build massive stick nests high in isolated trees, often reused and expanded year after year. Females lay 1 to 3 eggs, and both parents feed the chicks, delivering whole prey items. Growth is slow. Chicks stay dependent for months. Risky, but necessary for a bird that needs time to master those lethal kicks. Their vocalizations are low croaks and grunts, rarely dramatic. Communication relies more on posture and movement than sound. Predators are few for adults, but eggs and chicks are vulnerable to crows, eagles, and mammals. Habitat loss, however, is the real threat. As grasslands shrink, the walking hunter runs out of room. So here's the challenge. If evolution already gave you wings, why abandon the air and take the fight to the ground? And if a bird can rewrite what a raptor looks like this completely, what happens when illusion turns into sheer size and intimidation in the next species? A bird that looks like it's dragging 2 painted carpets through the forest somehow chooses to live on the ground in some of the densest forests in Southeast Asia. That's the crested argus, a pheasant whose tail alone seems to ignore every rule of practicality. Crested argus inhabit montane evergreen forests across Vietnam, Laos, and parts of southern China, usually between 1,000 and 2,000 meters in elevation. These forests are dark, steep, and tangled with undergrowth. Visibility is low, movement is difficult, and predators are always close, which immediately raises a question: why evolve a tail so long and patterned that it can exceed a meter in length? The answer lies in the feathers themselves. What looks like a tail is actually a pair of massively elongated wing feathers covered in hundreds of eye-like spots, each one precisely aligned. These patterns are not random. Studies show that females judge males based on symmetry, spacing, and condition of these eyes. Any damage, unevenness, or missing sections can mean rejection. Debate moment. Is this extreme precision a sign of genetic quality or an unfair standard set by sexual selection? Most of the time, the crested argus is surprisingly quiet and cautious. Its plumage outside of display is earthy brown and gray, blending well with leaf litter. It feeds mainly on fallen fruits, seeds, shoots, insects, and small invertebrates, foraging slowly along forest floors. Movement is deliberate. Running is rare. Flying is possible, but limited and usually used only to escape immediate danger. Its vocalizations are deep, haunting calls that carry long distances through forested valleys, especially during the breeding season. Males call repeatedly from fixed locations, advertising territory and readiness without needing to be seen. Sound first, vision later. Efficient, given the environment. When a female approaches, everything changes. The male clears a display court, then slowly fans those enormous feathers into a curved wall around her, forming a visual tunnel of eye spots. He pivots carefully, adjusting angle and distance so the pattern appears continuous and immersive. One misstep, and the illusion breaks. This isn't just showing off. It's controlled presentation under pressure. Predators include clouded leopards, large snakes, and raptors. Chicks are especially vulnerable, relying on camouflage and stillness rather than speed. Habitat loss and hunting have pushed the species into decline. Big feathers don't help when forests disappear. So here's the uncomfortable question. If survival favors efficiency, why does evolution allow something this excessive to exist at all? And if illusion already stretches this far on the forest floor, wait until raw power and intimidation take over in the next species. A shadow moves through the canopy, and suddenly the forest goes quiet. Not because it's night, but because something at the top of the food chain just arrived. That's the harpy eagle, one of the most powerful raptors on Earth, and easily one of the most intimidating birds ever built. Harpy eagles live in lowland tropical rainforests across Central and South America, especially the Amazon basin. They depend on large, continuous tracts of mature forest with tall, emergent trees. This is a canopy world, layered and vertical, where speed matters less than strength and precision. And that's exactly what this eagle specializes in. Physically, the harpy eagle is extreme. Adults can weigh up to 9 kilograms, with females significantly larger than males. The wings are broad but relatively short for an eagle, designed not for soaring long distances, but for maneuvering between trees. The legs are thick, muscular, and end in talons the size of a grizzly bear's claws, among the largest of any living bird. Debate moment. When your feet are weapons, do you even need speed? The feathered crown on its head forms a raised crest that can be lifted when the bird is alert or stressed, making the face appear larger and more aggressive. Combined with forward-facing eyes and a heavy hooked bill, the harpy eagle has a stare that feels almost mammalian. Not decorative, functional intimidation. Its diet explains everything. Harpy eagles primarily hunt tree-dwelling mammals, sloths, monkeys, opossums, and kinkajous. They also take large birds like macaws and curassows. Hunting is silent. The eagle perches for long periods, scanning the canopy, then launches in a short, explosive flight. One strike, no chase. The prey often never sees it coming. Vocalizations are surprisingly subdued. Soft whistles and weak-sounding calls, mostly near the nest. Power doesn't need noise. Breeding is slow and conservative. Pairs build massive nests high in emergent trees, often reused for years. The female lays 1 to 2 eggs, but typically only one chick survives. Parents invest heavily, feeding the chick for many months. A full breeding cycle can take 2 to 3 years. High investment, low margin for error. Natural predators are virtually non-existent for adults. The real threat is humans. Deforestation removes nesting trees and hunting grounds, breaking the system this bird depends on. Strength means nothing without space. So here's the question. If you're powerful enough to dominate an entire forest layer, what happens when that forest disappears? And if intimidation has already reached this level, wait until evolution adds flowing ornament and spectacle back into the equation with the next species. A large brown bird lifts off from the treetops, and suddenly a cloud of golden feathers pours out behind it, flowing, rippling, almost detached from the body itself. That's the greater bird of paradise, a species whose ornamentation is so extreme that early explorers believed it never touched the ground at all. This bird lives in the lowland rainforests and swamp forests of New Guinea and surrounding islands. Warm, humid, and crowded with life, these forests are visually chaotic. Light filters in broken shafts and movement is constant. In that environment, subtlety doesn't travel far. Visibility does. And the greater bird of paradise has solved that problem by turning its body into motion. Most of the year, the bird looks fairly ordinary. The body is chestnut brown, the wings broad, the posture upright. Then breeding season arrives. Adult males grow long flank plumes, soft filament-like feathers colored bright yellow at the base, fading to pale golden white. These feathers don't sit flat, they float. When the bird moves, they respond instantly to air and light, creating exaggerated motion even when the body barely shifts. Debate moment. Is this about color or about controlling attention through movement? The male also has an emerald green throat shield that flashes when angled toward light, and a pair of tail wires that curve outward behind him. Females are plainer and slightly smaller, built for camouflage and nesting rather than display. Again, the pattern repeats. Risk concentrated in one sex, survival spread across the other. Greater birds of paradise feed mainly on fruit, especially figs, along with insects and small invertebrates. They forage high in the canopy, often alone. Their calls are loud, nasal, and far-carrying, harsh squawks mixed with metallic clicks, used to advertise presence long before a display begins. Breeding behavior is highly structured. Males gather at traditional display trees, forming loose leks. Each male defends a small perch and performs when females arrive. Displays involve hanging upside down, spreading flank plumes into a shimmering halo, and vibrating wings to keep the feathers in constant motion. Females watch closely, often rejecting multiple males before choosing. Precision matters. Endurance matters. One weak performance ends the chance. Predators include large raptors, snakes, and arboreal mammals. During displays, males are exposed and distracted. Evolution didn't reduce that risk. It amplified the signal anyway. So here's the question. If attraction depends on excess, At what point does beauty stop being an advantage and start becoming a liability? And if flowing feathers already bend perception this much, wait until evolution strips the body down and replaces it with something even stranger in the next species. A bird hops onto a branch, and two impossibly long blue wires rise from its head, bending, shaking, glowing like fiber optic cables catching the light. Nothing about this looks biological, and yet it is. This is the king of Saxony bird of paradise, one of the strangest visual experiments evolution has ever approved. This species is found only in the montane forests of New Guinea, usually between 1,500 and 2,800 meters. These forests are cool, misty, and dim, with light slipping through in narrow beams. Visibility is limited. Details get lost quickly, which makes the male's head ornaments even more puzzling and more effective. Those wires aren't feathers in the usual sense. They're elongated shafts with tiny reflective plates that scatter light, creating a neon blue shimmer visible even in deep shade. They can grow longer than the bird's entire body. During display, the male raises, lowers, vibrates, and angles them independently, turning simple head movements into exaggerated visual signals. Debate moment: is this decoration or a biological highlighter designed to hijack attention? The rest of the bird is relatively plain: dark brown to black plumage, compact body, short tail. The female is even more subdued, lacking the head wires entirely and blending easily into forest foliage. Once again, risk is concentrated in the male. If predators are watching, he's the one advertising. King of Saxony birds of paradise feed mainly on fruit, especially figs, along with insects and small arthropods. They forage alone in the mid to upper canopy, moving deliberately and rarely rushing. Their vocalizations are sharp clicks and buzzing notes, often given just before or during display to draw attention without revealing exact position. Breeding behavior centers on isolated display perches rather than communal leks. When a female approaches, the male performs a precise routine: bouncing, wing flicking, and wire manipulation timed to her movements. Females are selective. Poor timing, damaged ornaments, or weak posture can end the encounter instantly. Precision isn't optional here. It's the entire test. Predators include raptors and arboreal mammals, especially when males are distracted. Habitat loss at higher elevations poses an increasing threat. These birds can't simply move lower without losing the environment their displays depend on. So here's the question: if evolution can turn head feathers into glowing signals, where exactly is the line between natural selection and design illusion? And if this already feels engineered rather than evolved, the next species pushes size, power, and attitude into even more intimidating territory. A massive eagle sits motionless in the canopy, staring straight ahead, and it looks less like a bird and more like a myth that learned how to hunt. That's the Philippine eagle, one of the largest and rarest eagles on Earth, built for dominance in dense tropical forest. This species is found only in the Philippines, primarily on the islands of Luzon, Samar, Leyte, and Mindanao. It depends on lowland and montane rainforests with tall, continuous canopy. These forests are thick, shadowed, and vertically complex. Long-distance soaring doesn't work here. Precision does. So this eagle evolved broad wings for short bursts of flight and an unusually long tail for balance while weaving between trees. Its appearance is unmistakable. A shaggy crest of long brown and cream feathers crowns the head, often raised to make the bird look larger and more aggressive. The eyes are pale blue-gray, facing forward, giving it binocular vision and a piercing, almost human focus. Debate moment: when a predator looks this alert, is fear part of the weapon? The Philippine eagle's diet explains its size. It hunts monkeys, flying lemurs, civets, large birds, and reptiles. Despite the old name monkey-eating eagle, it's a flexible hunter, taking whatever large prey the forest provides. Hunting is patient. The eagle perches silently, scanning branches and movement below, then launches in a sudden, powerful strike. No chase, no warning. One impact decides everything. Its call is loud and far-carrying, a series of sharp whistles often heard at dawn. These vocalizations help maintain territory in forests where visibility is limited. Territories are huge, sometimes covering dozens of square kilometers, because large prey isn't evenly distributed. That alone makes population density naturally low. Breeding is slow and demanding. Pairs mate for life and build massive stick nests high in emergent trees. The female lays a single egg. 1. The chick is fed and protected for over a year, and parents typically breed only once every 2 years. That's an incredibly fragile strategy. Debate moment: is specialization strength or a setup for disaster? Natural predators are virtually non-existent for adults. The real threat is habitat loss. Deforestation removes nesting trees and breaks hunting territories into unusable fragments. An eagle this powerful can't adapt to small patches. So here's the question. If evolution builds a predator this perfect for one environment, what happens when that environment disappears? And if intimidation and size have reached their limit here, the next species flips the script completely, trading menace for purity, silence, and ice-white precision. A shape lifts from the snow, and for a second it looks like the ground itself decided to fly. That's the snowy owl, a predator so pale, so still, it can disappear in plain sight across the Arctic. Snowy owls live in the high Arctic tundra of North America, Greenland, and Eurasia, breeding far above the tree line where winter dominates most of the year. This is an open, treeless world of wind, ice, and extreme light. Endless daylight in summer, endless darkness in winter. Camouflage here isn't about blending into foliage. It's about becoming part of the landscape itself. Their plumage does exactly that. Adult males are nearly pure white, while females and younger birds retain dark barring across the body. That difference isn't cosmetic. Females spend more time guarding nests on the ground, where pattern helps break up their outline. Males who hunt more actively benefit from near-total visual disappearance against snow. Debate moment: is perfect white a display of dominance or the ultimate stealth strategy? Snowy owls hunt mainly lemmings, and their population cycles rise and fall with lemming numbers. In good years, a single owl may eat several rodents a day. In bad years, they expand their diet to include hares, ducks, seabirds, and even fish. Unlike most owls, they hunt in daylight, using sharp vision rather than darkness. Silence still matters. Their wings are specially feathered to muffle sound, allowing low-level flight just above the tundra. Their call is deep and resonant, barking hoots that carry across open plains, especially during breeding season. Nests are simple scrapes on raised ground, chosen for visibility rather than concealment. From these vantage points, females can spot predators like foxes or jaegers approaching from far away. Eggs are laid directly on the ground, and clutch size depends heavily on food availability. In lemming-rich years, females may lay up to 11 eggs. In poor years, they may not breed at all. Extreme flexibility in an extreme environment. Predators rarely threaten adults, but chicks are vulnerable. Still, snowy owls are fiercely defensive, diving at intruders with powerful talons. Climate change now poses the greatest risk, altering prey cycles and shrinking suitable tundra habitat. So here's the question. If survival depends on becoming invisible, what happens when the landscape itself starts to change color? And if illusion can come from absence rather than excess, the next birds will show us how light itself becomes the canvas. A bird appears on a branch and looks like a fragment of sky that broke loose and forgot how to fall. Flat cyan blue, smooth violet shadows, almost no visible texture. That's the spangled cotinga, a species whose color doesn't behave like feathers at all. Spangled cotingas live in the lowland rainforests of northern South America, especially across the Amazon basin and the Guyanas. They favor the upper canopy, where sunlight is strong and direct, and where leaves constantly shimmer in motion. This is a place where detail gets lost fast, which makes solid, uninterrupted color surprisingly powerful. The male's plumage is the entire story. Bright cyan blue across most of the body, with darker violet tones on the wings and back. The color is produced largely by feather microstructure rather than pigment, reflecting light in a way that looks almost artificial. There's very little patterning, no stripes, no spots, just blocks of color so smooth they feel rendered. The female, meanwhile, is brownish and mottled, blending into foliage almost perfectly. Once again, display versus survival. Necessary contrast or evolutionary imbalance? Spangled cotingas feed mainly on fruit, especially figs, supplemented by insects. They forage quietly, often remaining motionless for long periods before making short, direct flights to feeding trees. Their movement is minimal. Let the color do the talking. Their call is low and simple, a deep, hollow note repeated at intervals, more felt than heard in the canopy air. Breeding behavior is subtle compared to the visuals. Males display alone from exposed perches, relying on color and posture rather than complex dances. Females approach, assess, and leave. There's no pair bonding, no shared nesting. After mating, the female alone builds a small nest and raises the chick. High investment on one side, zero on the other. Debate moment. Is this efficiency or imbalance taken too far? Predators include raptors and arboreal snakes. That solid blue, which looks so bold to us, can actually flatten the bird's shape against bright sky when viewed from below. In motionless light, the bird becomes a color patch without depth, flashy up close, disappearing at a distance. Here's the twist. This species isn't loud, aggressive, or territorial in the way you'd expect from something so visually dominant. It's cautious, quiet, and surprisingly easy to miss if you aren't looking directly at it. So if a bird can look like a digital artifact while behaving like a ghost, what does visibility really mean in the wild? And if color can erase depth instead of adding it, the next species takes brightness into a completely different wavelength. A bird flashes through the canopy like a drop of neon ink, and then it's gone. Not purple the way flowers are purple, but electric, almost glowing, like the color itself is emitting light. That's the purple honey creeper, a species whose appearance feels less biological and more like a lighting effect. Purple honey creepers range from southern Mexico through Central America and much of northern South America, especially in tropical lowland forests, forest edges, and plantations. They spend most of their time high in the canopy, where sunlight is harsh, angles are extreme, and contrast decides what gets noticed, which makes one question unavoidable. How does a bird this bright avoid being seen by everything? The male's plumage is an intense violet blue produced almost entirely by structural coloration. The feathers scatter light in a way that amplifies blue wavelengths, creating a sheen that looks different with every movement. Add the bright yellow legs and curved black bill, and the bird looks almost outlined. The female tells a completely different story, greenish with dull blue hints, designed to vanish among leaves. Same species, opposite survival strategies. Fair trade, or a risky split. Their diet explains the name. Honey creepers feed heavily on nectar, using that slender, down-curved bill to reach deep into flowers. But nectar alone isn't enough. They also take fruit, spiders, and insects, switching food sources constantly depending on availability. That flexibility keeps them moving. You rarely see one stay still for long. Fast in, fast out. If you blink, you miss it. Their calls are thin, high-pitched chips and whistles, used mostly to stay in contact while foraging. No long songs, no performances, just efficient communication in a noisy canopy. Breeding behavior is equally practical. Females build small cup nests, often well hidden, and raise the chicks alone. Males may defend feeding territories, but don't help much beyond mating. Debate moment. Does extreme beauty excuse minimal responsibility? Predators include hawks, snakes, and arboreal mammals. The honey creeper's defense isn't strength or aggression. It's speed and unpredictability. That glowing color, which looks so obvious up close, can blur into flashes when the bird moves through sunlit leaves, making tracking difficult. Here's the twist. In shade, that electric purple collapses into dark blue, almost black. The glow turns off. What looks impossible in sunlight becomes ordinary in shadow. So is the purple honey creeper truly loud, or just perfectly tuned to when light decides to cooperate? And if color itself can switch on and off like this, the next species doesn't just reflect light, it wears every color at once. A bird streaks overhead like a flying color chart. Blue head, green wings, yellow chest, red belly. Every primary hue present in arguing for attention at the same time. That's the rainbow lorikeet, a parrot that looks loud even when it's standing still, and somehow thrives in places most birds avoid. Rainbow lorikeets are native to eastern and northern Australia and parts of nearby islands. They occupy coastal forests, woodlands, mangroves, and increasingly, cities. Parks, gardens, street trees. If flowers are blooming, lorikeets will find them. This isn't a quiet lifestyle. It's noisy, competitive, and crowded. Which raises the question, why evolve such extreme coloration in environments already full of movement and eyes? The plumage is a full spectrum display produced by a mix of pigments and feather structure. Blue on the head, green across the back and wings, yellow and orange across the chest, and deep red on the belly. Unlike some birds, both males and females look nearly identical. No hidden sex differences, no toned-down version. Everyone wears the uniform. Debate moment. If color is risky, why doesn't one sex step back? Diet explains much of their behavior. Rainbow lorikeets are nectar specialists. Their tongues are tipped with brush-like papillae that soak up nectar and pollen from flowers. They also eat soft fruits and occasionally insects. Nectar is abundant, but scattered and temporary. When trees flower, lorikeets arrive in force. When flowering ends, they move on. This feast or famine rhythm fuels their constant motion and aggressive social behavior. Their calls are impossible to ignore. Loud, high-pitched screeches echo as flocks fly or feed together. These calls aren't songs, they're contact signals, warnings, arguments. In dense flocks, silence would mean collision. Noise is survival, and here's a twist. Those bright colors help lorikeets recognize each other instantly in chaotic feeding swarms. When everyone's moving fast, clarity matters more than camouflage. Breeding occurs in spring and summer. Pairs nest in tree hollows, often competing fiercely for limited cavities. Clutches usually contain 2 eggs. Both parents feed the chicks regurgitated nectar and fruit pulp. Parenting is intense but efficient. Chicks grow fast because food sources don't wait. Predators include raptors, snakes, and urban threats like cars and window strikes. Yet lorikeets persist, even expanding their range in cities. Color didn't slow them down, adaptability saved them. So here's the question. If being bright, loud, and obvious actually works in chaos, is camouflage overrated? And if wearing every color at once still isn't the limit, wait until shape, motion, and ornament combine in even stranger ways in the next species. A bird sits perfectly still on a branch, tail hanging straight down, and at the end of that tail, 2 bare shafts swing like pendulums, tipped with blue feathers shaped like spoons. It looks decorative, it looks unnecessary, and yet it's one of the most deliberate designs in the bird world. This is the turquoise-browed motmot. Motmots live across Central America and parts of Mexico, favoring dry forests, woodland edges, and scrubby open areas rather than dense rainforest. These habitats are bright, dusty, and full of visual noise. Light is harsh, shadows are sharp. Anything that moves gets noticed quickly, which makes the motmot's behavior puzzling. It often stays still for long periods, almost inviting attention. The plumage is bold, but controlled. A turquoise-blue brow runs across the face like a painted stripe, bordered by black, with green body feathers and chestnut tones on the wings. The head is large, the bill heavy, built for taking insects, spiders, small lizards, and even frogs. This bird is an ambush feeder. It watches, it waits, then it strikes with a short, direct lunge. No long chases, no wasted motion. And then there's the tail. Young motmots actually peck off parts of their own tail feathers as they grow, creating the bare shafts and spatula-shaped tips. This isn't damage, it's intentional. Scientists believe the tail acts as a visual signal, swinging side to side in a behavior called tail wagging. That movement may signal awareness to predators, a way of saying, I see you, don't bother. Debate moment. Is that confidence or bluff? Their call is deep and resonant, a low hoot that echoes through dry forests, often repeated at dawn and dusk. It's not complex, but it carries well in open terrain. Breeding pairs nest in burrows dug into earthen banks or flat ground. Another unexpected choice. Instead of trees, they go underground. Eggs are laid deep inside these tunnels, safe from many predators but vulnerable to flooding and collapse. Both parents share incubation and feeding duties. Chicks are fed insects and small vertebrates, delivered directly to the nest. Predators include snakes, raptors, and mammals that locate burrows. The motmot's defense isn't aggression, it's awareness and signaling. Here's the twist. That bizarre tail, which looks like pure ornament, may reduce attacks by making the bird's movements predictable and controlled, rather than panicked. Calm can be a weapon, so if a bird can survive by signaling confidence instead of hiding, what happens when contrast, size, and sculpted bills push that strategy even further? A bird flies past with a bill so oversized it looks almost cartoonish. White tips, black curves, sharp contrast like it was outlined on purpose. That's the crowned hornbill, a species that turns its face into a visual statement before you even notice the rest of the body. Crowned hornbills live across eastern and southern Africa, especially in woodland, savanna, and forest edge habitats. These are mixed landscapes, open enough for visibility, dense enough for ambush predators. Sound and shape matter here more than fine detail, and hornbills understand that better than most birds. The bill is the centerpiece. Long, heavy, and sharply contrasting, it's built for versatility rather than brute force. Crowned hornbills feed on a wide range of food: insects, spiders, small reptiles, fruit, seeds, and occasionally small mammals or birds. They forage deliberately, hopping along branches or the ground, using the bill to probe, grab, and toss food before swallowing. That exaggerated shape also plays a role in display and recognition. Debate moment: is the bill mainly a tool or a billboard? Their plumage is relatively restrained by comparison. Dark body feathers, white belly and tail markings, and subtle patterning that doesn't compete with the bill for attention. The head and face carry the contrast. The body stays functional. It's visual hierarchy in feather form. Vocalizations are loud, rhythmic, and unmistakable. A series of hollow hoots and cackling calls echo through the woodland, often given in duets by bonded pairs. These calls aren't just noise. They reinforce pair bonds and announce territory ownership. In environments where visibility is limited, sound becomes identity. Breeding behavior is where hornbills break expectations. The female seals herself inside a tree cavity using mud, fruit pulp, and droppings, leaving only a narrow slit. She stays inside for weeks, even months, while she lays eggs and raises the chicks. During that entire time, the male feeds her through the slit, delivering food multiple times a day. Total dependence, total trust. Debate moment: is this the ultimate partnership or the riskiest breeding strategy imaginable? Predators include large raptors, snakes, and mammals that can access nests before sealing is complete. Once sealed, the nest becomes remarkably secure. The female later breaks out, and the chicks reseal the cavity themselves until ready to fledge. So here's the question. If survival sometimes means locking yourself in and trusting one partner completely, how did evolution decide that was worth the risk? And if bold contrast already commands attention this effectively, the next species takes ornamentation into a realm that feels less like feathers and more like fashion. A pigeon steps out of the shadows of the forest floor, and suddenly it looks dressed for a royal ceremony. Powder blue body, deep maroon chest, and a lace-like crest rising from its head like a piece of handcrafted jewelry. This is the blue-crowned pigeon, proof that even the most underestimated bird family can take a dramatic evolutionary turn. Blue-crowned pigeons are native to the lowland rainforests and swamp forests of New Guinea and nearby islands. Unlike most pigeons that live in trees or cities, this species is largely terrestrial. It spends much of its time walking slowly along the forest floor, weaving through roots and leaf litter. The environment is dim, humid, and crowded with ground-level danger, which makes its size and visibility immediately questionable. This is one of the largest pigeons in the world, weighing over 2 kilograms. Its plumage is a soft bluish gray that absorbs rather than reflects light, helping it blend into the shadowed understory. The real standout is the crest, tall, fan-shaped, and tipped with white spots, each feather ending like a tiny spoon. That crest isn't rigid decoration. It rises and falls depending on the bird's alertness or mood. Debate moment. Is the crest for attracting mates or for making the head look larger to potential threats? Their diet is made up mostly of fallen fruits, seeds, and small invertebrates. They swallow food whole, relying on a strong gizzard to grind it down later. Foraging is slow and deliberate, with frequent pauses to scan for danger. Their call matches that lifestyle, deep, low, and booming, almost like distant drums. It carries far through forest understory without revealing precise location. Breeding behavior is conservative. Pairs are monogamous, building simple stick nests low in trees or shrubs rather than high canopy. Usually only a single egg is laid. Both parents share incubation and feeding duties, producing a rich crop milk to nourish the chick. Growth is slow, but steady, a strategy that prioritizes survival over numbers. Predators include large snakes, monitor lizards, and forest raptors. But the greatest threat today is humans. Hunting and habitat loss have pushed populations into decline. Size and beauty don't help when the forest disappears. Here's the quiet twist. Despite its extravagant appearance, this pigeon is shy, cautious, and easily stressed. The crown doesn't signal dominance, it signals identity. So if something this ornate survives by staying calm and grounded, what happens when color stops being soft and starts glowing again in the next species? A small bird hops through dense foliage and flashes a smooth gradient of yellow, olive green, and warm orange. Like someone airbrushed the colors instead of painting them. That's the red-billed Liothrix, often called the Pekin robin, and one of the most deceptively polished songbirds in Asia. This species is native to the foothills and montane forests of the Himalayas, southern China, and parts of Southeast Asia. It prefers dense understory in evergreen and mixed forests, bamboo thickets, and forest edges where light filters in softly rather than blasting through. These are layered environments where sharp contrast disappears quickly, which makes smooth color transitions unusually effective. Its plumage isn't loud in the way parrots or rollers are loud. Instead, it blends from greenish olive on the back into rich yellow underparts, with orange-red highlights on the wings and a bright coral red bill. There are no harsh lines, everything flows. That gradient effect helps the bird stay visible to its own kind, while remaining surprisingly hard to isolate in foliage. Debate moment. Is this camouflage or selective visibility tuned only for the right eyes? Red-billed Liothrix feed on insects, spiders, berries, and soft fruits. During breeding season, protein-rich insects dominate the diet, especially for feeding chicks. Outside that season, fruit becomes more important. They forage actively in pairs or small groups, moving quickly through low vegetation, rarely staying exposed for long. Their voice is where the species truly stands out. The song is rich, whistled, and musical, often compared to that of a nightingale, but lighter and faster. Males sing from hidden perches, delivering complex phrases that carry through thick undergrowth. Calls between group members are sharp and metallic, keeping contact without drawing too much attention. Sound does the announcing, color stays controlled. Breeding behavior is careful and cooperative. Pairs build cup-shaped nests low in shrubs or bamboo, well concealed. The female lays 2 to 4 eggs, and both parents share incubation and chick feeding. Nest defense relies on secrecy rather than aggression. Predators include snakes, small mammals, and forest birds of prey, especially when nests are discovered. Here's the twist. Despite its subtle wild lifestyle, the red-billed Liothrix became highly popular in the cage bird trade because of its song and color. Introduced populations now exist far outside its native range. Beauty escaped confinement, but not without ecological consequences. So here's the question. If elegance can be soft, controlled, and still irresistible? Does survival really require extremes? And if this is what refinement looks like, the next species trades smooth gradients for raw metallic shine and impossible contrast. A bird steps out of the reeds and suddenly looks like it was forged from polished metal. Electric blue chest, emerald green back, purple shoulders, and legs so bright yellow they almost glow. That's the purple gallinule, a wetland bird that looks completely out of place in the muddy, tangled world it lives in. Purple gallinules range across the southeastern United States, Central America, the Caribbean, and much of South America. They inhabit freshwater marshes, swamps, ponds, and floating vegetation mats. These environments are chaotic, shifting plants, reflective water, and constant movement. Visibility changes by the second, which makes the gallinule's color scheme feel almost reckless at first glance. Its plumage is highly iridescent. Blues and greens shift with angle and light, produced by feather structure rather than heavy pigment. In direct sun, the bird looks unreal. In shade, those colors darken and flatten, helping it blend into shadowed vegetation. That switch is the first mini twist. The shine isn't always on. It's conditional. The body shape is just as unusual. Long toes spread wide, allowing the bird to walk on floating plants without sinking. It moves carefully, almost tiptoeing across lily pads while feeding on seeds, aquatic plants, insects, snails, and small frogs. It's an omnivore built for balance, not speed. Debate moment: is elegance in movement as important as color in survival? Its call is a series of sharp squawks and clucks, often given when alarmed or during territorial disputes. Purple gallinules are surprisingly aggressive, chasing rivals and even attacking intruders much larger than themselves. Despite the flashy look, this bird doesn't rely on intimidation alone. It relies on confidence and quick reactions. Breeding behavior is flexible. Pairs build floating nests anchored to vegetation, often just above the waterline. Females lay 5 to 10 eggs, and both parents share incubation and chick care. Chicks are precocial, leaving the nest soon after hatching and navigating floating plants almost immediately. Predators include alligators, snakes, raptors, and large fish. Falling into the water at the wrong moment can be fatal. Here's the quiet twist. Purple gallinules are strong flyers and excellent dispersers. After storms, individuals sometimes appear hundreds of kilometers outside their usual range. Bright, bold, and unexpectedly mobile. So here's the question. If a bird can wear metallic color and still vanish when light shifts, is brilliance really a liability? And if wetland light can turn metal into shadow, the next species turns color into something even sharper and more explosive. A flash of neon blue slices across the water. And if you blink, it's gone. Not a blur, a spark. That's the malachite kingfisher, a bird so intensely colored, it looks more like a glowing icon than a living animal. Malachite kingfishers are found across sub-Saharan Africa, anywhere freshwater exists. Rivers, lakes, marshes, and slow streams. These habitats are reflective, high-contrast environments where light bounces off water and vegetation constantly shifts. In that chaos, subtle colors get lost. High saturation doesn't. Its plumage is dominated by electric blue and turquoise, produced by structural coloration that reflects light with extreme efficiency. The back and wings glow blue, the underparts burn orange copper, and the bill is long, straight, and jet black, built for precision strikes. Despite the brightness, the bird is small, barely larger than a sparrow. That size matters. It allows quick acceleration and tight control when diving. The malachite kingfisher hunts from low perches, hovering briefly before plunging headfirst into water. Fish make up most of the diet, along with aquatic insects and crustaceans. The strike is fast, direct, and shallow. No dramatic splash. It grabs prey crosswise, returns to the perch, and beats it against the branch to subdue it. Efficient, repetitive, unforgiving. Debate moment. Is speed more important than power when hunting in tight spaces? Its call is sharp and piercing, a high seat, often given during flight. Not melodic, but effective at cutting through ambient wetland noise. Breeding pairs dig nesting tunnels into riverbanks, sometimes more than a meter long. Eggs are laid deep inside, safe from most predators. Both parents share incubation and feeding duties, delivering fish one after another in relentless cycles. Predators include larger birds, snakes, and mammals that locate nesting banks. Adults rely on vigilance and explosive flight rather than camouflage. And here's the mini twist. That neon blue, which looks blinding to us, can actually blend with water reflections when viewed from above, flattening the bird's shape against the surface. So here's the question. If extreme color can act as both signal and disguise, is visibility really about brightness or about context? And if this much color fits on something so small, the next species turns contrast and shape into pure graphic design. A bird hops into a shaft of forest light, and suddenly the cave wall looks like it started glowing orange. Not red, not yellow. Pure, saturated orange, wrapped into a perfect half-moon crest that hides the beak entirely. That's the Guyanan cock of the rock, a bird whose face looks less evolved and more designed. This species lives in the rainforests of northern South America, especially across the Guianas and parts of the Amazon basin. It favors rocky ravines, cliffs, and cave-like outcrops near forest streams. These places are dark, humid, and enclosed, environments where light arrives in short, dramatic bursts. And that's exactly where this bird performs best. The male's plumage is shockingly uniform, brilliant orange from head to body, with black wings and tail that sharpen the contrast even further. That oversized crest isn't fluff. It's a rigid structure made of specialized feathers, forming a smooth disc over the face. From the front, the eyes nearly disappear. From the side, the profile looks unreal. Debate moment. Is this meant to attract or to overwhelm? Females are a completely different story. Brownish gray with fine barring, perfectly camouflaged against rock and leaf litter. Same species, opposite visibility. The male absorbs risk, so the female doesn't have to. Sexual selection at its most unbalanced. Cock of the rocks feed mainly on fruit, especially berries and small drupes, supplemented by insects. They forage quietly in the understory, but feeding isn't the main event. Display is. Males gather at traditional leks on the forest floor, often near rocky overhangs. Each male defends a small display spot and performs short hops, wing flicks, and head bobs, flashing that crest repeatedly. Females watch, evaluate, and leave. No pair bonds, no shared parenting. Performance determines everything. Their calls are harsh croaks and grunts, nothing musical, delivered during display and territorial disputes. The sound doesn't charm, the color does. Predators include raptors, snakes, and mammals, especially when males are distracted during lekking. Here's the twist. Despite that blinding color, the bird almost disappears in deep shade. Without direct light, orange dulls fast. The display only works when lighting cooperates. Timing matters as much as color. So here's the question. If beauty depends entirely on being seen at the right moment, is it still beauty or just controlled exposure? And if evolution is willing to turn a bird into a glowing icon, the next species stretches form even further, turning feathers into impossible ribbons. A bird moves through the misty forest and two white ribbons trail behind it. Impossibly long, weightless, drifting like loose strands of silk caught in slow motion. They don't look attached. They don't look practical. And yet they belong to the ribbon-tailed Astrapia, a bird whose tail rewrites the limits of form. This species lives high in the central highlands of Papua New Guinea, in cool montane forests between roughly 1,800 and 3,400 meters. These forests are steep, wet, and dim, often wrapped in cloud. Flight here is short and careful. Space is limited, which makes the male's tail, often over 3 times the length of his body, feel almost absurd. Those ribbons aren't stiff feathers. They're narrow, flexible shafts with minimal vane, designed to move with the slightest air current. When the bird perches, they hang straight down. When it flies, they twist, lag, and ripple, exaggerating every movement. Females watch closely. Studies suggest tail length directly affects mating success. Longer tails win. Debate moment. When preference keeps pushing a trait further, does evolution have a stopping point? The rest of the male's plumage is relatively restrained. Glossy black with subtle green and purple iridescence on the head and chest. The female, again, is brown and camouflaged, built for nesting and survival. Once more, ornament is concentrated where risk is highest. Ribbon-tailed astrapias feed mainly on fruit, especially figs, along with insects and small arthropods. They forage alone or in small groups, moving deliberately through the mid to upper canopy. Despite the tail, they are capable flyers, but maneuvering costs energy. Strong winds, rain, or dense branches can damage the ribbons, and broken tails reduce mating success for an entire season. Their calls are simple whistles and rasping notes, not elaborate songs. Visual display does the heavy lifting. During courtship, the male positions himself above the female, so the ribbons hang directly in her view, forming vertical lines that frame his body. It's controlled placement, not random excess. Predators include raptors and arboreal mammals. That tail is a liability when escaping quickly, and damaged feathers take time to regrow. Evolution didn't remove the danger, it accepted it. So here's the question. If success depends on carrying something that actively makes survival harder, why hasn't selection pulled the trait back? And if feathers can turn into flowing lines that defy function? The final species pushes color and contrast into one last electric statement. A dark bird lifts its wings in the forest shade, and suddenly two flashes of electric blue ignite at the edges, like neon accents switching on at exactly the right moment. This is the bluebird of paradise, a species that saves its color for when it matters most. It lives in the montane forests of eastern Papua New Guinea, usually between 1,400 and 2,000 meters. These forests are cool, humid, and dim, with thick moss, tangled branches, and filtered light that changes by the second. Constant brightness doesn't work here. Timing does. Most of the male's body is deep velvety black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. That darkness is intentional. It creates contrast. During courtship, when the wings are raised and extended, vivid electric blue panels along the wing edges flare into view. The effect is sudden and directional, blue appearing exactly where the female's eyes are drawn. Not a full-body costume, a controlled reveal. Debate moment. Is restraint more powerful than excess? The male also has a shimmering blue throat patch and a pair of slender tail wires, but these are secondary to the wing display. Females are brown and cryptic, built for concealment rather than spectacle. Once again, the risk is unevenly distributed. Bluebirds of paradise feed mainly on fruit, especially figs, supplemented by insects and small arthropods. They forage quietly in the mid-canopy, rarely drawing attention outside of breeding season. Their calls are nasal and far-carrying, used to announce territory and attract females before any visual display begins. Breeding behavior centers on leks, where males gather at traditional display sites. Each male performs individually, hanging upside down or perching, while spreading wings, vibrating them to keep the blue edges in constant motion. Females visit, observe, and leave. No pair bonds form. No parental care follows. Once mating is complete, the female alone builds the nest, lays eggs, and raises the chick. Performance is everything. Commitment is zero. Predators include raptors and arboreal mammals, especially during display when males are exposed and distracted. Damage to feathers can ruin an entire breeding season. Evolution didn't soften the risk, it refined the signal instead. So here's the final question. If evolution can turn light, shadow, and motion into deliberate illusion, where exactly does biology end and design begin? Because after 30 species that look too beautiful to be real, one thing is clear: nature doesn't need AI to create impossible things. So, after 30 birds, 30 different designs, 30 ways nature decided to ignore subtlety, what are we left with? Not just color, not just feathers, but intention. Every bird you just met wasn't beautiful by accident. Each color carried a cost. Each tail, crest, plume, and glow came with trade-offs. Predators watching, energy burned, survival pushed to the edge. And yet, evolution kept choosing beauty anyway. Maybe that's the part that messes with us. Because we like to think survival is about efficiency, about blending in, about playing it safe. But nature doesn't always play safe. Sometimes it takes risks. Loud ones, bright ones, almost unreasonable ones, just to see what works. And maybe that's why these birds feel unreal. They don't look optimized, they look expressive. So the next time someone says, "That looks AI generated," remember this. Long before algorithms learned how to imagine beauty, nature was already experimenting with it. And it's still running the longest design test in history, right above our heads every single day. The question is, are we still looking closely enough to notice? If you are, then this wasn't the end of the journey. It was just proof that the wild still has surprises left.